Welcome to the Good Talk Podcast, where we remind you of the joy of life, the love of God, and the possibilities that lie ahead. Pete and Jordyn here with episode 71.
Failure is not something you do. Part 3 of our Living an Extraordinary Life series.
Yes.
So if you missed part 1 and part 2, go check those out. It's not chronological. Like you can listen to this one without having listened to the others. But I think the other 2 are good foundations for this.
I do too. I'm loving this series.
So failure is not something you do. I'm guessing you're going to talk about failure.
A little bit. Yep.
Okay.
A little bit about failure, a little bit about risk, a little bit about courage. I can't wait to dive into this. I can't wait.
Ready.
But before we do that, let's catch up on a few things. First of all, Miss Jordyn is getting a new iPhone.
I am getting a new iPhone, the new one that hasn't even come out yet. And why am I getting a new iPhone?
So I made a bet. It was a bad bet. We've both been toying around trying to use Reels a little bit on Instagram because it's just a great tool to reach people. And
they're like short form videos.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar.
Jordyn did this reel, and you had a couple hits. I mean, more than a couple. It was doing well. Mm-hmm. But I made a bet with you. I was like, hey, if you get 1 million views on that video, I will buy you a new iPhone. Because you have an older phone, and you create a lot of content off your phone anyway.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, I thought it was a very safe bet. I didn't think she'd get close to 1 million views. Neither one of us have ever had, that I'm aware of, 1 million views on anything.
No. Yeah, it was really weird and random how it took off. It was a video of Pepper.
Yeah. And she not only hit 1 million, since then she's hit 2 million.
Yeah, I'm at like 2.3 on that one. And then my other one
hit 1 million.
It's like 1.3 right now.
So dumb. You had 2 videos in 1 week with over 1 million views.
It's so random. I don't know. I don't get it.
That's like more people than live in the entire state of like Wyoming.
Well, anyway, it was fun. They're kind of fun to make, and it's random which ones pick up. But if you don't follow me on socials, come see my 1.3 million view videos that I don't know why they're that interesting. But no, it was really fun. And I'm really glad I get a new iPhone. And I have a witness to prove it. Gage was here, and he has my back. He knows that this
there
is
was a
owed
witness.
to me.
I said it, and I regret it, but I did.
Oh, it's so funny.
But I'm also proud of you. And to be honest, there's always an element of luck and things that go viral.
Sure.
But you've also studied this stuff, and you know it really well. Oh, and so, yeah, you did great. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thanks. What else do we have going on?
Well, we have a Goal Getter.
Oh, yeah.
This group coaching that we're doing that launches in September. So time is running out if you want to be a part of it. It's cheaper than it has ever been.
Yeah.
And it's a 12-week group coaching program that is going to help you, whether you have a goal to be a better dad, a better husband, a better wife, a better mother. If you got a dream you're chasing, it's a really fun environment where we help you essentially live what we call the created life versus the default life. 12 weeks long, lots of interaction. We're going to have a blast. And so go check that out. Where did they go to check that out?
thegoalgettercourse.com, or like I always say, if your website, Pete, is easier to remember, PeteWilson.co, and there's a huge banner right on that home screen where you can click on it, learn more. It tells you pricing. It tells you like payment plan if you need it, which it's so cheap now you probably don't. But all kinds of like video explainers. It breaks down, the curriculum that you'll work through. And like Pete said, it's not just very like kind of explicit goals of, I want to write a book and I want to launch a business. And that stuff works too, but it is also can be kind of more intrinsic and something you're wanting to do for yourself in any capacity. So that's really fun and really helpful. And I'm excited.
I am too. I've never done it in the fall. It's usually like a beginning of the year thing. But my thought is, why wait until January to start putting the tools together, right? To chase what you want to chase or become what you want to become. Let's do it in the fall so you have the momentum and you're ready to chase it if you choose to wait until January.
Exactly.
But we're going to have a blast together. I love the interaction we have. It's a small group. I limit it so that we can have a lot of interaction together. And the curriculum itself, it works. I know that. I've seen dozens and dozens of people go through it. But it really is more about the kind of coaching we get to do in our group. You get inspired by other people, hear what they've got going on and stuff. So anyway, go check it out.
Yeah, it's really fun. And if you've never been a part of any kind of life coaching, it can sound like strange, because you feel
Yep.
like, what is life coaching? It's truly just like someone walking you through your obstacles, and I think that it's not therapy, it's not counseling, it's very different. So it is kind of more of a director of the path, right?
Yes,
Helping
that's right.
them uncover things on their path. So anyway, thegoalgettercourse.com or petewilson.co, or if you follow us on our socials, links in our bios, all that. So we are excited to get that going, and I'm excited to talk about why failure is not something that I do,
Okay.
because I'm pretty sure it is.
Let's talk about it. Let me set it up like this. So 2 episodes ago, it had been episode 69, we talked about something called the 4 C's. Actually, in the middle of the podcast, it became the 5 C's because Jordyn threw something in there that I love and I'm sticking with. But these 5 C's, just kind of walk you through them real quick. The first C now is conviction. Like there's something that happens in your mind or your heart where you're like, I'm not who I want to be, or I'm not living the life that I want, and I need a change, right? And so it might be the conviction that you need to become a different person for your kids, or you need to become a different person if your marriage is going to succeed. Or you get this conviction of, I've got this idea, it could be a business, it could be something else that needs to be birthed into the world. Like the world needs this, right? So you feel this conviction that there's some kind of change. And this change, whether it happens internally or it's something externally in your circumstances, you have this conviction that this needs to happen.
Okay.
So then that leads to the second C of commitment. You got to make a commitment. You decide, I want that. All right. And then that third C is courage. And that, for me, that's the most difficult of the C's, because the reality is you're either wanting to become somebody you've not been before. So that takes courage, right? Because you're trying. Or you're chasing a dream that has never been realized before. That takes courage. And it's in that courage phase because you don't have the competency yet, and you don't have the confidence,
Right.
which are the next 2 C's. And so you're kind of living in this space where it's courage. It means there's risk involved. There's the potential for failure. You may try to change and you can't change for some reason, or you may try this idea, but it doesn't develop. So we live with that. And that's honestly, most people don't get past the courage phase. Plenty of people have conviction and make a commitment,
Right.
but they never get past the courage phase. It's important to get past it because on the other side is where the competency and the confidence come.
Right.
Most people want the confidence on the front end before they try something. It doesn't work that way. So that means there's going to be a season in your life where there's the potential for risk or potential for failure. And that's kind of where I want to talk about today. And I heard an illustration years ago. Actually, I didn't hear it. I read it. I was on a plane. I wish that I would have figured out where that article was from or whatever. I didn't, but I did jot down a few notes. And it was fascinating. It was talking about soccer. And you grew up playing soccer.
I did my whole life. Yeah.
Did you love it?
I loved it. It was hard work. I was in like a very competitive league and played with girls older than me, so it was fun. I enjoyed it, but it was a lot. It was high stress for sure. But it's a great sport. I'm such a fan.
Did you ever get to kick a penalty kick? Mm-hmm. So that's what this article is about.
Okay.
It's talking about penalty kicks in professional
Which is
soccer.
you and the goalie by yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
And considering, and they said this in the article, that the average professional team scores 2.3 goals a game. That's not a lot.
The
low scoring game. So a penalty kick really gives you an opportunity to be the hero. A lot of times it could win the game, right? So anyway, just kind of visualize, pretend that you're right now as you listen to this, that you're standing on the soccer field and you're in a World Cup game. Doesn't get any bigger than that, right? And you have the opportunity to kick a penalty kick for your team. And that's where you're just standing up there. It's just you versus the goalie.
Yep, the ball's on the line, and the referee blows the whistle, and you've got to make a decision where you're going to kick the ball.
Yeah. So here's some stats, all right? When you're standing there, you're 12 yards away from the net. 12 yards away from the goal. It's not far. Now, you do call it a goal, right? Or goal.
The net, yeah.
The net, whatever you call that. It's 8 yards across. You probably know this, but not everybody listening knows. 8 yards across, and it's 8 feet high. In a professional soccer game, that ball is going to be traveling at 80 miles an hour. 12 yards away, and somebody's going to kick a ball at you, it's going 80 miles an hour. What that means, and I never realized this till I read this article, is that the goalie has to decide before that guy even kicks the ball
which way to jump,
which direction it's going to go. Right? And because if he waits to look to see the ball moving, it's over. It's too late.
Yep.
So he has to decide before it's even kicked where he's going to launch his body. Now, there's actually been stats on this. And again, this is for professional soccer. In professional soccer, when there's a penalty kick, 57% of the time they kick it to the left corner.
That's because most are right-footed, and so you follow through that way.
Yeah, it makes sense. And then 41% go to the right corner. And this is where things get really interesting. I hope you're hanging with me, even if you don't like soccer. Only 2% of penalty kicks in professional soccer are aimed towards the center, towards the middle, like right at the goalie. Now, what's interesting statistically is in professional soccer, if you have the opportunity to kick a penalty kick, if you kick it to the center, statistically speaking, you're 7% more likely to succeed.
Because they're thinking the goalie is going to be jumping away from the center.
Yep.
If they're ready.
7% more likely if you just kick it to the center. And yet only 2% of all penalty kicks are ever kicked or aimed at the center. So then you have to ask why. Well, what this article said was, number one reason is kind of obvious, and that's mystery. Right? Soccer players watch tape on penalty kicks. So if you kicked it to the center every time, there's no mystery there, right? You take the option away. So that's obvious. Couldn't do that every single time. But the big reason they said was shame. It was shame. So like when you're standing over the ball and you're ready to make a kick, what's most important? To win the game? I mean, is that really what's most important? You're standing over the ball and you decide that you're going to kick it to the center because you're 7% more likely to score if you kick it to the center. But then a thought crosses your mind. What if the goalie doesn't dive? Right? What if for some reason he stays right there at home and you kick the ball straight into his gut, right? And he, saves his country without even having to budge. How pathetic are you going to look as a professional soccer player if you do that? Now, if you kick it to the corner and he jumps and he stops it, at least you're going to seem like your valiant effort was just topped by a more valiant effort, right? You won't be the hero, but you're not going to look like an idiot and walk off the field in shame. And so they said the fear of shame, that fear that maybe he doesn't jump, even though you're 7% more likely to kick it, that most professional soccer players just won't do it.
Yeah.
Because of that fear of shame and embarrassment. And so this idea of shame, we've talked about shame a lot on this podcast because it's something you and I both dealt with in different seasons of our life. Brene Brown's one of my favorite quotes from her. She says, shame is the most powerful master emotion. It's the fear that we're not good enough. Shame erodes courage. That's why I think talking about this concept is really important, because one of the things that keeps people from really moving from that commitment stage into that courage stage is shame. Like, do I deserve to transform as a person? Do I deserve the success that might come along with this idea? Like, I don't think I'm worthy of this. And what if I try it and I look like an idiot to all my friends? If I tell all my friends that I want to launch a new business, I want to become a real estate agent, and I try and I fail at it and I don't sell a house, like I rather just not try than to have that fear of trying something and failing.
Right.
Have you ever struggled with that?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I think I've had several initiatives where, like, and by that I mean, like, out of college I started a business and other things that I've done on the side that it's like it did okay, but it never, like, I'm always a bigger dreamer than I sometimes am an executor. And I love to dream ideas. I have big dreams, but I rarely actually execute. I have, like, things that you know about right now that it's like things I want to do, but I fear that it's not, like, I'm not going to do it well enough to even try. So like, why am I even going to try if I'm not going to knock it out of the water?
Yeah. I think about you and I, like last night after we put Pepper down, we call it like a dream session. So we're out on the side porch enjoying our time together, but we're also dreaming and literally putting stuff on a whiteboard of some dreams and goals we have.
We probably sound like such weirdos.
No, I love doing that, but the reality is I'm not going to publish those dreams we wrote on that board publicly, at least not right now.
Yeah.
And part of the reason might be because I'm afraid, what if we don't make those things? And people are like, well, look at those idiots. They said they're going to do this. They never did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think every single person has to struggle with it, period.
So the kick, right? The kick comes down to what's most important. Number one, winning the game for your nation, or two, not looking like an idiot, right? Now, aiming towards the center has a better chance of success, but aiming towards the corner is less risky to your own reputation. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what a lot of us are facing right now in our life. A lot of people that I coach would admit that a vast majority of their life, as they've attempted things, they've kicked to the corner. They've tried it in such a way to avoid public embarrassment or failure. Maybe they shrink the goal down to something that's really not what their idea or their dream is, but it feels safer to them. Mm-hmm. And, my question for myself and for you and obviously for everybody listening is, what are you more driven by? The fear of public failure. But you have to decide what's most important, creating the life I want or not looking like an idiot. Mm-hmm. And I'm to a place in my life where what's more important to me than getting everything right, and what's more important to me than worrying about what people might say about the things that I try, what's more important to me is creating the life that I really want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's most important.
Yeah.
And if that requires kicking it to the center because that's the best way to execute something, even though there's a greater fear that I might look like an idiot down the road, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's good.
I really am. And I've wasted way too much time making decisions in my life based on trying to not look like an idiot. Mm-hmm. And I'm finally coming to grips with the fact that there are much worse things than failure.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I keep using this metaphor, but if you don't ever kick it to the center, then how, I don't know, I think I would just rather have the peace of knowing I tried it and it didn't work, versus wondering forever at that PK line, what if I had just trusted my gut, or what if I had just had the courage? I think I would.
PK line, that's penalty kick line.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I see you dropping inside knowledge.
I'm just a pro soccer player, not. Anyway, I just think I would just much rather have that peace and clarity, knowing I tried it, and if it didn't work, I think it's equally as valiant to be able to say, well, I tried it. Did you? You?
Well, you know why you think that way now?
Why?
Because you've finally come to grips with, at the end of your life, there are things that are going to sting a lot more than failure. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be regret. Mm-hmm. Regret will always sting more than failure.
Yep.
And you'll be replaying the chances that you didn't take, not the mistakes that you made along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you just truly I think there are things in life that you have real gut checks on, and in the depth of your heart that XYZ is the right decision. Yep. And we don't do it so often. But I feel like they're gut checks for a reason. There's something in your soul that's yearning for this. And it doesn't mean it's obviously easy, but I just think that if you do satisfy that yearning, how much more alive you become. Yeah. I always think past just the accomplishment or just the chasing of the dream, and think about what that will do to your soul. Anytime you're chasing something that's really important to you, it's just lights you on fire. And I said this last podcast, it just infuses itself into everything else in your life, the people, the other ideas and other projects. And it's amazing how just having the courage in your own heart to pursue something, to pursue an idea, just starts to ignite other ideas. Yeah. And it's just this momentum builder. So I don't know. I think that's really encouraging.
Yeah. An insight I recently had is that failure is not something you do. Failure is something you think, mm-hmm. right? It's most of the things that we quote unquote fail at really are incredible lessons that you have to go through to get where you really want to be. It's mm-hmm. not, it's reframing failure. Yeah. It's not something you do. It's something you think. And if you attach that idea, that concept of failure, every time you miss the mark and try something new, I think you're missing the whole point. Because the point in all of this is not perfection. None of us are going to do it perfect. It reminds me, my Christian friends will know this story in the Bible of the disciples. Jesus' disciples are all on a boat, and he appears out in the water. And Peter actually gets out of the boat and is walking on water to Jesus. But he ends up falling, right? He takes his eyes off Jesus. He falls, and Jesus helps him up out of the water. He doesn't drown or anything. And most people, when they tell that story, they tell it from that perspective. They tell it from Peter failed. He took his eyes off Jesus. But here's the thing. I believe there were 11 other bigger failures that day. And it's 11 guys who stayed in the boat. They never even tried. Sure, he did sink, but for a while, he was walking on water. Like he had an experience he would never forget the rest of his life. He was walking on water. He got out of the boat. Peter wasn't the failure in that story. It was the other 11 disciples who never got out. And that's how I choose to kind of look at it. I love that story. I love that illustration, the soccer illustration too, because they're just a reminder to me to try some things.
Yeah.
And what has to be more important to all of us is living that created life, living that design life, the life that you really want to live. That has to be more important to you than any kind of fear around what other people might think.
Right.
If everything doesn't work out exactly the way you wanted it to work out.
I really like the idea and illustration of it being just like not considering the parts of your life that don't go exactly like you thought, not seeing that as a failure, but just seeing it as like a stepping stone. And that sounds so cliche, but really genuinely it is, because from that you learn something. And then with that learned knowledge, you then move on and do other things. And I was just thinking about like Peter walking on the water and falling, that moment of falling, also in getting helped back out of the water by Jesus. That's an experience too. Like he felt like a failure in a moment and then realized, nope, somebody's there to help me up, and there's hope on the other side of this. And so I can keep trying to walk and I can keep putting a foot in front of the other, and there's going to maybe be someone else to lift me up if I fall again. And so I just think it's, instead of seeing it again as just like a finite thing, like I failed, I think it's just really cool how life works and how grace works, of just this journey of ups and downs and unexpected things and great things. But they have to happen to get to ultimately where you want to be. And I think you just have to have the courage to know that you can do that, know, and to chase those things, and you deserve that life. You deserve that extraordinary life, but you do have to be the person to take those steps. Someone's not going to do that for you. And so I love the idea of it not being, failure's not something that you do and you don't just fail and then that's it and everything's done. And why am I going to try again? Because I could fail again. I just like it being more of a concept of like the path, and it's bumpy, and it's okay if you fall down, and but the getting back up is so important.
Right. And we could go on and on and on in this, because there's so many good reasons why you can't allow that fear of failure to keep you from trying. But I'll give you a great example right now. One of my clients I'm coaching, he has this great idea for this business, and it's not his main business. He has other businesses, but he's been holding on to this idea for like 2 years. And he's the kind of guy that has just nonstop ideas normally, but he hasn't lately. This is kind of the one, right? And he doesn't have the model perfect yet, but I've been pushing him like, it's time to launch. And part of the reason that we need to launch for him is we need to see if it's going to work or not. And maybe it doesn't. But the beauty, if it doesn't, is at least now it is off his plate. It's out of his mind, and his mind is now free to receive the next idea.
Yeah.
And as long as that's there, that failure to launch is keeping him from receiving new creative ideas.
Yeah, I believe that.
And so, there's multiple reasons why at some point, if you have that conviction and you make that commitment, you got to move through that phase of courage to take those next steps.
That's good. I like it.
So that's a lot of stuff too that we work through in Goal Getter.
Yeah.
And Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. I love seeing it when somebody finally grabs a hold of that and they realize, oh, wow, regret is going to sting more than failure. When they really grab that, man, sky's the limit for them.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm pumped for your group. I feel like we have different, like you've been doing this for a couple years now, and I can still remember like the first group, and I picture them as like this class that graduated together, you know, and they're still so connected, and it's really cool because there's the Facebook group, and they still like talk through that. They give life updates. I've got one the other week, I don't even know if you saw this, that one of the girls got her dream job because of Goal Getter, but it just took a little bit of implementing all of the curriculum really in her own life and taking the courage and the steps. And she finally, because of a connection she made and the framework she put together for her life, got this dream job. And I don't know, I just think it's so cool. And it really is, it's good stuff. And you do awesome with these people.
Yeah,
and
it's fun.
I don't know, it's good. And it's on Zoom, so you're not having to like meet or go somewhere. It's super easy. You can be in your PJs for all we care. But
and some people will be. Shout out to Donna. Donna was in the very first group we did, group coaching. I saw her this weekend. I don't know if I hadn't had a chance to tell you that, but I got to spend some time with Donna and her husband. It's always great, even like 2 years later, to see people who are part of this community and be able to stay in contact with them. And so shout out to Donna. I know she listens to the podcast.
Donna's awesome. Donna, you're like such an encourager in general. She's always like commenting on our vlogs and our podcasts and stuff like that. So I love people like that are just big encouragers, cheerleaders. We are your cheerleader. Good stuff. That was good.
Yeah.
Thank you I like that switch of the like thought process of failure is not something you do. It's just part of.
It's a label that you slap on an experience.
Yeah,
There's other labels that are a lot more effective than that. But yeah, man, I'm so grateful. I thought about this today. I was driving back to do this podcast with you, and I was just thinking about how grateful I am for the people who week in and week out knock out some of their time, block off some of their time to spend with us.
Yeah.
Time is so valuable. And for those of you who do that every week, gosh, we're just so grateful. We consider you family, even those of you we haven't met before. It's awesome to be on this journey with you guys. And we want to be your biggest cheerleaders to help you believe in you and your dreams and whatever's going on in your life.
Yeah. And another way that like you can not be totally anonymous as a listener is follow us on socials and we'll follow you back. We're so like, we love getting to know the people that listen. And it's just, that's one of my favorite things is I'll have people, you know, in DM say, hey, we listened, like, that's so awesome. And it feels like, okay, I love having faces of people because right now, you know, in a podcast, you're talking into a black hole of a mic and sometimes it's hard to feel like there's somebody on the other side. So we really love that. And then subscribe if you will. A lot of you already have, but just podcast on iTunes, wherever. And then we also have our vlog and also video uploads of this podcast too on our YouTube channel with the Wilsons. If you search that, subscribe and make sure that you get all the new episodes on your home screen. And
Yes.
That was another
good talk.